need to stop what we're proud of. Ain't nothing to be proud of. My mama did it all on her own. She shouldn't have. I got her pregnant. He wasn't married to her. She shouldn't have to be raising these kids. You got 4 baby daddies and 5 kids? And then somebody got to take care of these kids. No, actually we shouldn't. Why should the state have to take care of your kids? You did that. Let's go to the next slide. I know it's ugly, but it is what it is. No, real talk, man. Real talk. We got to do better. Ain't nobody telling us to do better. Everybody telling us it's okay. No, it is not. It is not okay. This is some of the latest data. It say 70%. Born out of wedlock. Go to the next slide. Now, when they found in 1965, only 25% of our children were born out of wedlock. When they found that out, when they did this report, they said this is going to be a travesty. This is a disaster. This is a crisis. Now we got 70%. And they said, listen, Monahan wrote in this report that was given to Lyndon Johnson. He said a community, he's talking about black folks, he said a community that allows a large number of young men to grow up in broken homes, dominated by women, never acquiring any stable relationship to male authority, never acquiring any rational expectations about the future, that community asks for and gets chaos. Like I said, look at Chicago, look at Gary, look at Ben Harbor, look at where we at. Crime, violence, unrest, unrestrained, lashing out at the whole social structure. That is not only to be expected, it is very near to inevitable. What you gonna get? You can get nothing but chaos if you defy what the Lord set up. He gave us marriage to take care of our children. You need a father in your life. Your father need to be there to discipline you, especially the boys. And the father need to be there to show the girl how a man is supposed to be and to affirm her femininity and to raise the boy to be a man. You just not a man because you 18. You become a man because manhood is imposed upon you by the trials of this life. So we got a bunch of young boys running around here, 30 and still a boy. It's a damn shame. Let's go to the next slide. That's good. Go back to let's go back to the book. Deuteronomy 22. Can't be no man just because. You born with, as a man, you ain't even born with value. You just here. How you get value? You have to develop yourself. Well, how you gonna know that if you don't see a man? How you gonna know what responsibility is and protection is if you don't ever see a man? I'm thankful I saw a man, he right there. And my grandfather, he dead, but those were men. Deuteronomy 22 and verse 5. When you ready, brother, go ahead.
The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man. Mm-hmm. Neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord thy God.
See, he's real specific about sexuality. He's saying, so he told you got male and female. He told you that woman, hey, you supposed to be a virgin upon marriage. And then he even tell you, you can't just be putting on a man's garment. You can't just, and a man putting on a woman's garment. He said that's an abomination. That is confusion. Let's go to the next slide. Because when it comes to sex, even how you dress. Go back up for me. Even how you dress. This is what Paul was saying. This is what Paul is talking about. He said, hey, that's not modest. That's what's going on Paul and Peter today. Go to the next slide. And we had these guidelines in the announcements, read them every week, mean it every week. Why? Because if you are a woman, and this applies to women more so because you got more parts. You know what I mean? You have more parts. So you got some things to worry about. And that especially how you could be shaped. The question you need to ask yourself is, if you are questioning in your heart if something is inappropriate to wear, you don't need to be wearing it. And another question you need to ask yourself, am I trying to dress sexy or am I trying to be godly? Which one? Which one? You got to make a decision. Because sexy, you're trying to allure somebody to look at you to think of you in a sexual way. That's not what you want. I hate to say it, that's what whores do. So that's a contradiction if you saying I love the Lord, I'm a servant of God, but my dress up to here. Daughter of Sarah, but you see all the cleavage. That's not actually what should be. That's not actually what should be. I'm trying to help you. Because if you ever know, I always ask the question, how do these Muslims got us beat in this? They ain't even worshiping the true and living God. They worshiping Baal, Peor, Allah Peor, a false deity. But they know how to cover up. Now some of them take it to the extreme. They walk around with a bed sheet on. I ain't saying that. With a burqa. But for the most part, those women are modest. Do you think, how do you think society looks at them? Do you think an average Negro running around here is looking at a woman who's covered from head to toe in an inappropriate way? Now, he may have a thought, but that's the one that get the door open for her. That's the one, because what you're saying, you're giving a message to the world. What's the message? I respect myself. What's the message? I have a covering over me, whether it's your husband or whether it's your father. What you're saying, I'm not just a plaything you could throw away. I'm not some one night stand. I'm not some garbage dump. I'm not some bust down, because that's how these men are looking at you when you don't know how to dress. Let's go to the next slide. We don't even have to watch this video. This woman here, she's from Kenya or Somalia. She's Somalian. And she was a supermodel. Now, being a supermodel is some foolishness. However, what she did do was cover up. I saw her on the news. It was like a news clip, and it was showing her at a beauty pageant in Minnesota, because Minnesota has a large Somalian population. All the women out there, just what I said, little thigh here, put it out, take it back, cleavage here. She walking around totally covered. Dressed down to the floor, hijab on, totally covered in the evening gown competition. They do swimsuit. They walking out basically in bra and panties. Just keeping it real. She came out totally covered. Do you know she stuck out more than I'm talking about what they were saying. She stuck out more than everybody. Why? Because what is it with her? That's how you got to be thinking. See, because when a man actually want to marry you, he'll lay with you. He might be looking at you to be dressed inappropriately, but when he want to be with you, when he wants you to be his wife, he don't want a man in his right mind. He don't want you to dress like that for the world. That's like we were talking before the lesson started. Young man crying because his woman out there and she just walking around with her drawers. He like, you're a mama now. You shouldn't do that. You sound weak. You sound weak. Because you put yourself in a position. That's a whole other thing. But you put yourself in a position for a woman to tell you, you do what I say. If she's supporting you, she like, you can't tell me nothing. So she hugged up on some other man in her drawers. And then what everybody say? You shouldn't say nothing to her. That's where we at today. We justify all the foolishness. Go to the next slide. Don't play this. Go to the next slide for me. If you got to minimize it, that's fine. That's good. Let's read, brother. Let's go to Proverbs, the 7th chapter. Proverbs, the 7th chapter. Any man worth his salt want a modest woman. Proverbs 7 and verse 6. And the Bible shows you, again, concerning modest apparel, it's a certain way you should be dressing. Let's look at this further. This is Proverbs 7 and verse 6. When you're ready, brother, go ahead and read.
For at the window of my house I looked through my casement, and beheld among the simple ones, I discerned among the youths, a young man void of understanding.
So he's talking about this man. You know, you could be dumb. Man could just be dumb. He not really considering. He just looking for a woman, not really considering things. Let's keep reading.
Passing through the street near her corner, and he went the way to her house.
Go ahead.
In the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night. And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of an harlot and subtle of heart.
Now, what did she have on? She had the attire or the clothing of an harlot. See, everybody got a uniform. A righteous woman have a uniform. She's a certain way she gonna dress is showing you, hey, I'm a righteous woman. And also, it's a reason you go in bad neighborhoods. You got what they call a track. You got a stroll. And who on the track and on the stroll? Prostitutes. What kind of clothing do they have? Oh, they got head coverings on, and they got dresses and skirts down to their ankles. No, they don't. Just the opposite. Why? Because they have the attire of an harlot. Because they are trying to elicit sex. They're trying to allure you through the way in which they look. But you go to the supermarket, and what do you see? The attire of a harlot. In all shapes and sizes. All shapes and sizes. No shame in that game. I seen this just yesterday. She had her shirt up to here. Up to here. Belly out to here. Stretch marks all down. I'm telling you what I saw. Stretch marks all down. I looked through, I said, man. And she was just walking. And her belly just shakes. I said, man, what we doing out here? What we doing? What we doing? No shame in our game. It would actually help you if you put on some clothes. So it said, and behold, there met him a woman with the attire of an harlot and subtle of heart. So I'm reading that because you could actually have on a whore's uniform. You need to check and see if it's a whore's uniform. Let's hold our finger here and go to Genesis, the 38th chapter. Because again, there are certain things you can wear, and sometimes it is cultural, but certain things you can wear to let the people know what you are. That's like, I'm teaching summer school right now. And none of the teachers wearing shorts, they wear whatever they want to wear. Principal came to me, he said, you don't have to wear slacks and a tie and a dress shirt. He said it, he was saying, hey man, you ain't got to wear that. You don't actually have to wear it no day. But I wear it. Why I wear it? Because I don't want nobody to get confused. I don't want none of these kids to get confused, think I'm one of them. This is Genesis 38 and verse 14. When you're ready, go ahead and read.
And she put her widow's garments off from her.
This talking about Tamar. Now, she was supposed to get Judah's son. He's supposed to fulfill the Levirate law. But it said, and it was told Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And what did she do? Verse 14.
And she put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife.
Okay, so now she had another uniform on. She had a widow's garment because she was a widow. Her husband had died. The Lord had killed him. So now, because he was wicked. So now, but she had on widow's garments. So those garments that she had on, it showed what she was. She was a widow, meaning she was a woman that was married, but her husband died. So she put that off, and then when she put it off, she put on a veil. But then what did she do? Verse 15.
When Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, because she had covered her face.
Because she put on a prostitute's uniform. Why? Because the veil would allow anonymity. And where she was at would indicate that she was a prostitute. That's just like when I showed you that video in Turkey, how they were keeping the tokens of virginity. They were still doing that. If you go to some places like Turkey, if women are out at night, the men assume that they're prostitutes. Why? Because women are not out at night. Why women not out at night? Because their husband or their father and their uncles and brothers not allowing them to be out at night. Why? Because what's out at night? Trouble. Sometimes I look at stuff like that sister in Chicago and that situation that happened. That was terrible. That man was out of pocket. But ain't nowhere in the world my wife going to be up in there. Ain't nowhere in the world my daughter going to be up in there at night. Why? First of all, she cook and she cook well. But secondly, I'm not letting my wife go out there because I know it's Negroes like that up in there. Not blaming her, I'm just saying. When they saw her, he assumed because of what she had on that she was a harlot. So you need to really consider how men are dealing with you. Are they dealing with you like you a harlot? If they are, you might want to check yourself and your apparel. But let's go back to Proverbs the 7th chapter. And not calling a woman that, I'm just saying in the place, I'm just saying our sisters need to be protected. But they need to be protected by the men that they up under. This is Proverbs 7 and verse 11. Because it said this man met a woman with the attire of a harlot, and it says subtle of heart. Because see, it's an attitude that go right along with that attire. It's an attitude that go along with what you dress like. What is she?
She is loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house.
She loud and stubborn and she all outdoors. She ain't in the house. As one poet says, she for the streets. Let's go to 1 Peter. That's not what we should be doing. And as men, we got to set an example and expectations for the women in our lives. 1 Peter, because if your women are in a bad situation, you in a bad situation. 1 Peter 3, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Because here Peter talks about attire and what a godly woman should have on. When you ready, go ahead and read.
Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that, if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives. Mm-hmm. While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear.
Go ahead.
Whose adorning let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting of the hair and of wearing of gold or of putting on of apparel.
See, he says it's not even about wearing all these other things. What is it about? What should you wear?
But let it be the hidden man of the heart,
mm-hmm.
and that which is not corruptible, mm-hmm. even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price.
That's what you want to wear. So if you got a meek and quiet spirit, then your attire is going to match that. It's not going to be sexual. It's not about being sexy as no believer. Let's keep reading.
For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also, who
mm-hmm.
trusted in God, adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands.
The sanctified women of old were the same way. Let's go to 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy 2, and let's pick it up at verse 9. Because here Paul is telling Timothy about how the women should be. And again, this is something, you see this with, this is more what women are going to do. Because men, our biology is just different. 1 Timothy 2 and verse 9. When you're ready, go ahead and read.
In like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel.
Again, modest apparel. In like manner also, he's telling how the women should be. So now he's telling Timothy, who he's preparing in ministry and instructing in ministry, so that what? He would tell the people how they're supposed to be. People need to be told how they're supposed to be. They're not just going to do it. Even when you tell them they don't want to do it. In like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel with what?
With shamefacedness mm-hmm. and sobriety.
Go ahead.
Not with braided hair or gold or pearls or costly array.
Right. So he's telling you how you're supposed to be attired. Modest apparel. But we're in a terrible time now where everybody's wants attention, want validation. What you want is a husband. What you want is to be righteous. What you want is the people say, oh, you are more than your body parts. Just to show you, again, everybody have a uniform, when he's talking about Israel, who is his bride, what does it say here? This is Jeremiah 2 and verse 32. When you're ready, brother, go ahead and read.
Can a maid forget her ornaments?
He said, can a maid forget her ornaments? If you about to get married, or excuse me, if you're a virgin, you had something you would wear. So can a maid forget her ornaments or what?
Or a bride her attire?
A bride not just going to forget her wedding garment. She's not going to forget that at all. That's the big day. So can a maid forget her ornaments or a bride her attire? I'm saying because everybody got a uniform. So do harlots. And don't think a prostitute is just somebody walking the street. You could prostitute yourself and qualify as a harlot through your attire and your behavior, even though you don't have a pimp. Because you're doing the same thing. That's what, even when you look at dating, what they do, they go on dates. I'm talking about back in the day. Take the woman, give her some money, do what they do. That's the same thing going on right now. And now the man not even taking you nowhere. You got Netflix? We gonna chill. That's what's going on right now. You got men, they ain't going on no date. We gotta do better. Can a maid forget her ornaments or a bridal attire? Yet my people have forgotten me days without number. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. So everybody got a uniform on. Then when they approach you greasy, approach you grabbing all on you, not justifying none of that. But what you got on? It shouldn't matter. The reality is it does. 1 Corinthians 12 and verse 23. And you're wearing that. Here's the other part of it. You're wearing that because you want to be approached. The problem is you want who you like to approach you. You don't control that. Leroy coming. No teeth in his mouth. He coming. That's what happened. Oh, this harassment. But if Tyrone had came, now it's all good. No, you don't need. We need to reevaluate some things. And here he's telling us that certain parts of our body need to be covered up. Because they're sexual in nature. Let's read it. 1 Corinthians 12 and 23. When you're ready, go ahead and read.
And those members of the body, which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow more abundant honor.
Now the parts of us that are less honorable, right? Those things of our anatomy that deal with sexuality, he said you show them more honor. I mean, you go above and beyond to cover them up. No man gonna come out that bathroom if his fly is open. He gonna want to know that. Hey man, your fly open. Oh. So you could supposed to cover that, but we don't have shame today. We like in the Garden of Eden, walk around no shame. Letting it hang. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. He said, those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow more abundant honor, and our uncomely parts have more abundant comeliness. Go ahead and read.
For our comely parts have no need, but God hath tempered the body together, having given more abundant honor to the part which lacked.
Let's go to Proverbs 7. He's just showing you certain parts of your body you take care to cover up. At least you used to. Proverbs 7. Go back to Proverbs. Proverbs 7. And we're going to pick it up at verse 10 again. Because in one instance, it's talking about he met this woman with the clothing of a prostitute. But we're going to see what she was on. Let's pick it up at verse 10. When you're ready, go ahead and read.
And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of an harlot, and subtle of heart. She is loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house.
So she loud and stubborn. Her feet do not abide in her house. Go ahead and read.
Now is she without, now in the streets.
I told you she was for the streets. Let's keep reading.
And lieth in wait at every corner.
And she lieth and wait in every corner. And what she do to the young dumb man?
And she caught him and kissed him, and with an impudent face said unto him, I have peace offerings with me.
Go ahead.
This day have I paid my vows. Therefore came I forth to meet thee diligently to seek thy face.
Go ahead.
And I have found thee. I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry, with carved works, with fine linen of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon.
Wait a minute now. She done prepared the bed for this young man. She's prepared the bed for this young man. She said, I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry, with carved works, with fine linen of Egypt. I perfumed my bed with myrrh. That's like when you read a Song of Solomon, her hand was dripping with myrrh. He says, and oil, aloes, and cinnamon, verse 18.
Come, let us take our fill of love unto the morning.
So she said, let us enjoy ourselves till the morning. Why?
Let us solace ourselves with love. For the good man is not at home. He has gone a long journey.
Who is the good man? Her husband. So she go out with the attire of her heart, but then she said, hey, let's commit adultery. That as Potiphar's wife said to Joseph, lie with me. That's what she said. So again, sexual immorality, you're not supposed to be committing adultery. That's mingling seeds. If you notice, the Bible speaks against that. I know for a fact people don't really realize what the man's seed does to the woman. It goes way beyond just bringing forth the baby. That is not something, you should not have all these men's seeds. If you married, you were built actually for one man. But it said this woman, she said her husband, the good man, is not home. He is on a long journey. So now let's pick it up let's keep reading. Let's just keep reading. Let's skip down to let's pick it up at verse 21. Because she's telling him what can happen and he's believing it. Verse 21.
With her much fair speech, she caused him to yield. With the flattering of her lips, she forced him.
But what is he?
He goeth after her straightway as an ox goeth to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of stocks.
You just like an ox going to the slaughter when you deal with somebody else's wife, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks. You shouldn't even be looking at somebody else's wife. That's what the Bible tells you. That's what Job said. I made a covenant with mine eyes. I shouldn't even look upon a maid to lust after her. Jesus talked about how you could commit adultery in your heart. You have to cast out certain thoughts. Me and my children were talking about that today. Certain thoughts, you can't just harbor any and everything. Because you harbor any and everything, then an opportunity presents itself. Next thing you know, you've done something that you will regret. Let's keep reading. 23.
Till a dart strike through his liver, as a bird hasteth to the snare, and knoweth not that it is for his life.
That's how you are going with somebody else's wife. Till a dart strike through his liver, as a bird hasteth to the trap. That's a snare. And knoweth not that it was for his life. You just started with some food. You just started with some sex. No, it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. Let's go to Hebrews, the 13th chapter. Because author Hebrews tells you how it could be a lot worse. You might not get caught. You might sneak out of that cheap motel. Nobody saw. Well, somebody saw. Let's pick it up at Hebrews 13 and verse 4. You thought you got away. Let's see what it says here. One verse. When you're ready, brother, go ahead and read.
Marriage is honorable in all.
Marriage is honorable in all. And what?
And the bed undefiled.
And the bed undefiled. But what?
But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge.
He said, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. God will judge you for that. Well, what's the judgment? Let's go to Galatians. As they say, you're not getting over, you're just getting by. Let's pick it up in Galatians. Here, Paul tells you. Galatians 5 and verse 16. What does he tell you? When you're ready, go ahead and read.
This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
See, we have to change our mindset. We are carnal beings, and we're sexual beings. But nevertheless, we must be spiritually minded. He said, this I say, then walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Go ahead.
For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh.
It's a battle. Look at her. It's a battle. And some of them, I'm going to be honest, some women can make you fight. But you better put up a good fight. Anywhere, you like, oh, you better put up a good fight. Because you gotta weigh it. Is the passion worth you dying? I don't think so. I know it's not. It's not. He said, for the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But it should be some kind of fight going on. Especially when you trying to deal in the spirit. Let's keep reading.
But if you be led of the Spirit, you are not under the law.
You are not under the law. Go ahead.
Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these.
And what comes out of the flesh? Go ahead.
Adultery.
Adultery. Why? Because you haven't changed your mindset. Once you see that some man's wife, hey, like David, when they said Bathsheba, we saw Bathsheba, he went on that rooftop, he saw her bathing. Who is that? I got to know. That's Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite. That should have been the end of it. He said, I can't go back on that roof. That should have been the end of it. But it said, for the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary one to another, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye led of the spirit, ye not under the law. Now the works of the flesh, again, we're carnal, the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these.